neçə dənə qız dünyaya gələndən sonra adam yol gözlürdü ki, oğlu ola. Amma mənlə qız oldu. Dadamla təsmim tutdu, məni o yerlərə apara ki, fəqət oğlanlar gedə bilərdi.
Sara sen geldiğinde şour oldun. Sen gelsen şour olsan sen rengin çok olur.
Olmaz, cür gelmez bizim. Ağsakkallarımız kalan kalkı devlet etmemiz yüreğinde olur.
Diyərəm bilə. Nereye gebele ya?
Hanım bak biz 5 nəfərik.
Hocar mənə zəng vurdu. Məhbub səhərə şour şey.
Kənd cavanlarına tayfa tükəndi.
Sanki bizim gittiğimiz bir ata babadan vardı. Hayatın senatı yarısın buraya özelliği yol getiriyor onu kontrol eden.
شما خودتون رو در این حد ببینید که میخواید دکتر بشید، میخواید معلم بشید، میخواید مهندس بشید. حاضرین همتون دیگه؟ همimiz زرنگید. Hamımız başarabiliriz. Hamının elinden gelir.
Anlaşa bucu bağla, o.
Tabi ürettik ola, adam ola, tabiyle dünyanın haberi.
Çağırgışı götürək meydan çıxardıraq. Hər nə mənim xud olmaz ki.
Bunlar çatanda mənə ağzına gələn deyirlər. Mən onu eləyə bilməm.
میگرن نامه گرفتن دادگاه پیش رسمی من شکایت دیدیم
Bunlar mənim hüviyyətimi zirə sual aparıb. O zat ki, döyüləm, istirlər olam. Ola istirlər, mənə təğyir verirlər.
Mən istəyirəm səni bəhr olam.
Ya.
Vallahi.
Hi, this is Chuck Braverman. This is another episode of Westdoc Online. Today we're bringing you a cinema verite documentary called Cutting Through Rocks about a rural village in northern Iran. And it is a pleasure to have the filmmakers with us, the producer, directors, and editors who worked together on this film. Sara, Khaki, and Mohammadreza, Eymi. I hope I got that right. Guys, how are you?
We're doing really well. Thank you so much for having us, Chuck.
Thank you. We're happy to be here and talk more about the film. And my name is Mohammadreza.
Mohammadreza. I told you I'd mess it up, so I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries.
It only took the first sentence or two to mess it up. My apologies.
No worries.
But I want to say what a pleasure it is again to have you guys here, because we met this weekend at the Directors Guild of America Awards breakfast, which preceded the 5 nominated feature film directors, show clips from the film and do a Q&A with the audience. But beforehand, we had the nominees breakfast, which I've had the pleasure of being invited to for the last 25 years, having won the DJ award myself once a quarter of a century ago. And lo and behold, I'm sitting at a table, got there early by myself, and come sit down right next to me, this lovely couple who introduced themselves, and here they are back online. Did you enjoy the breakfast the other day? Was that fun? With all the nominees that were there, right?
Yes, it was really an amazing experience to be in a room full of amazing filmmakers that I look up to and always inspire me. And to be in that room is really, really amazing. And it was an honor for us to be nominated.
Yeah, and fiction and non-fiction colleagues. And also being nominated for DGA by other directors like you, Chuck, here, and the amazing conversation that we can many times have only with other fellow filmmakers going deep and talking about the deeper layers of filmmaking, and also I told you when we were drinking coffee, I showed you the director of Memento, Christopher Nolan, and I told you that when I was working on my thesis, when I was studying cinema at Tehran University, one of the films that I talked about and I wrote about was Memento. So, and then being in a same room with the director or Guillermo del Toro or other documentary filmmakers that we really admire, Mstislav Chernov, Laura Poitras, Elizabeth Lowe, and this is amazing. And also Gita Gembey. So all of the filmmakers we admire and actually storytellers that we respect, because making films are documentary films especially are not easy, and we need more than ever to narrate the stories that are important.
Well, I want to skip around to something I have on my short list of questions before I forget, about the University of Tehran Film School. What was that like? What is it like? What was it like? I mean, I know you didn't go to 100 other schools. You only went to one school, but what do you think about that, if that's a fair question, that school?
Yeah, and also I love to ask this question from Sara too, because we had two separate routes to be a filmmaker. For me, studying in a university that before me, Abbas Kiarostami studied painting, and also Asghar Farhadi, the director of Separation, studied directing, and also so many other amazing filmmakers. So for me, it was an opportunity to having conversation with other colleagues, and also an amazing time to going to the library and just reading about directors that I admire, or having a chance to watch so many films from different countries, like new wave French cinema, or neorealism of Italy, or Asian cinema, Kurosawa, and Iranian cinema. I've learned a lot from Farhadi or Kiarostami or Mehjui or Naderi, and so many amazing, Iranian cinema, and fiction and non-fiction, and or Krzysztof Kieślowski or Antonioni, or so many of them that inspired me. So I can say the university was an opportunity for me to learn more about the history of cinema, and learning that cinema is not like the film that have been made in last 5 years, or films that distributors trying to promote. So my advice always for younger filmmakers is, please go and watch and study the history of cinema, because we are on the shoulder of masters of cinema filmmakers. And also for you, Sara, you studied social documentary
Yes, I
filmmaking.
had a slightly different route than Mohammadreza, because I left Iran at a young age, and I did my undergrad studies in cinematic arts, but that was really mostly experimental filmmaking, which I really enjoyed, because I learned how to I enjoyed thinking about storytelling in a visual way, not necessarily thinking about words, but thinking about how we visually tell the story. And then I studied social media documentary, so I always wanted to combine the two practices together, bringing.
And this was where?
My undergrad was actually happening at UMBC, University of Maryland in Baltimore, and then I moved to New York School of Visual Arts for the documentary studies.
I'm so impressed with the two of you. I think you're such a great couple, and I think part of it, of course, I'm prejudiced because I've seen your film, and it's really powerful, and it's so interesting and so moving in so many ways, and it really is a cinema verite film, and I love the way in the press notes you referred to Maisels and some of the other masters of cinema verite, because there's so few real verite films being made now, it seems like, in a way. So do you want to, one of you, give me a sentence or two, rather than me butcher the description of what this film is about. I'd love to hear if you would tell somebody who has not seen this film what Cutting Through Rocks is, briefly.
Okay, I'll give it a try. So, Cutting Through Rocks takes place in the northwest of Iran, where we follow this tenacious woman named Sara Shahverdi, who's the only female motorcycle rider. She's been a midwife and delivered 400 kids in her village, and the film starts when she wants to run for a council seat. Of course, she faces a lot of opponents, but the kids she delivered are now 18-year-old first-time voters. So she ends up, against all the odds, winning the council seat and becoming the first woman ever to run, to take the seat in the northwest of Iran. So we started following her story, and with the little power that she gains, she starts to shift and create space for women and girls around her. Over the course of the film, we realized that she's creating equal land ownership for women, and as well as creating ways to teach the young girls how to ride a motorcycle and promote, educational rights, and also stopping them from child bride marriage. Of course, there are a lot of setbacks along her way, but she does so with a lot of perseverance, tenacity, and hope.
So watching it just echoed so many things that are happening here now in the United States. But are women's rights as restricted and as bad in the big city, like in Tehran, as it is in the village? Because they seem to be practically property, being married off at 12 years old, right? And
yeah, so we see some of the things that unfolds in the story of Cutting Through Rocks was kind of new to us as well, because as soon as Sara became a councilwoman, we realized that the practice of child bride marriage is really, really a common practice in this region.
Child bride marriage. So,
right.
That's what is it, the common age for child bride marriage there?
So it actually ranges from the age 12 to 15, and usually the families are the ones who decide for the girl. This is really what they've done years and years before, and that they think this is the right thing to do to make sure that the girl is protected. So one of the reasons why the girls don't get the education that they deserve is because there isn't enough infrastructure in place and schools in place within the village. So in order to study, they would have to commute to the next village, the neighbor village, and some of the parents feel protective of their daughters. So that's really, they think that this is the right thing to do. But to my surprise, I found that in some communities, even in the US, that is a common practice. And also, in the capital cities, we don't see that as much. But if I look closely in some communities, even within the capital cities, I see in Iran, I see that that's also being practiced. But there is a drastic change between a place like Tehran versus the place like the northwest of Iran, this village, because you see a lot of educated women, you see a lot of women who are running for council elections, and it's not an issue at all. And what our lead character is trying to do is that she's trying to break those boundaries and break those walls and become the first to be doing that. And for us to witness from the beginning of the film, I forgot to mention that this film was made over the course of 8 years. So we had 8 shooting trips, and every time we went to the village, we stayed there for a long period of time. The longest was 90 days. So we would stay for 40 days, 50 days, 90 days, just to make sure that we give enough time and patience to the stories that are evolving. And so when we go from the moment in the beginning of the film where Sara Shahverdi is the only female motorcycle rider in the region, all the way to the end of the film where the parents are accompanying young girls for a motorcycle ride with Sara leading them. Of course, there's a backlash in the middle of the film that you will see, but to see from point A to point Z is really a result of 7 years of witnessing the change that could potentially happen in one space.
So I also picked up you talking about languages, and I noticed in the notes that the language in Northwest Iran is different than in Tehran. And so, Sara, did you speak the native language there also, or did you have to depend on?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I did not speak the Azeri Turkish language. However, both my grandfathers spoke this language. I grew up listening, but I didn't know a word of this language. I always was drawn to it, however. And then when we first moved, I was always able to communicate with Sara already with Farsi. You know, she also speaks Farsi, so we were communicating. But then as soon as we arrived to the village, Mohammadreza is a native speaker, of course, and as soon as he started talking, then the villagers accepted us as a member of the community. And for it was really magical how our duo collaboration as a male female creators worked out the way it did, on the ground. On the one hand, I was able to be welcomed into the community of women in a way that Mohammadreza couldn't have, and the other way around. I could not have access to the men in the community at all as a woman. So the two of us together was really, our presence was really key in.
This is some advantages of making observational films, because she learned how to speak the language in the
I learned it
process
over time,
because you
yes.
spend a lot of time there. And actually, with my mom, I had a secret language to talk with, and now she knows that secret language, so I need to find other ways to.
So when we walked into this village together and started this collaboration, which was supposed to be I did not envision to spend 8 years of my life, obviously, on this project, and it ended up being a lifetime project. And so I had a ticket back. I had a ticket to return back to New York, but I kept postponing it, and I ended up literally moving back home to work on this project. And in the process of filmmaking, we also ended up getting married. So that became like a story of us getting together as well behind the camera.
I can say it was a long master class for us to study the power in the community, and to see that it was so inspiring for both of us to see how contagious the change is.
Sara, weren't the people in the village intimidated by you a little bit, coming from the big city and being more sophisticated than they are and more educated and so on and so forth? Was that an advantage or a disadvantage, or not an issue?
Well, I don't think that was necessarily a disadvantage, but it just wouldn't be an advantage either, because I think it was something, maybe in the beginning they were mostly curious about me as a woman filmmaker. I was doing sound, Mohammadreza was doing camera, and just the dynamic of us and the conversations we had between, among ourselves was interesting. They were really curious about how this is all working. But I think as the time passed by, I started to feel more and more connected to them, especially to the young girls who were trying to think more ambitiously about their future and the possibilities that could be out there. Sometimes they would list about they would list the things they would want to become, and then in the list, and it wasn't really only becoming a doctor or a dentist, they would say, I want to be a filmmaker. So that was really interesting to see how over time their perspective shifted in a way.
Yeah, and I think that many of them are so smart and sometimes smarter than us, and they need a little bit more space and support. And you know, in the film, in one scene, in the old school girls scene, you can see in their eyes how lovely, lively, amazing, and smart and talented they are. So we need to only give a little bit of space to them. And
Yeah.
me as a filmmaker coming from that community, I felt that, and also both of us. And we learned a lot from all of them, you know, not only Sara Shaverdi. And also, I had a lot of conversations with men behind the camera, you know, with Sarah's brother or other men. I have a lot of respect for them, but not to their ideas always, because it was a conversation about, you know, how we can make our communities better, and also to discussing with each other.
In some ways, what we see here in the United States when it comes to some of the rights, for example, the abortion rights for women, it sounds like it belongs to centuries ago.
Well, we can't even open that conversation because it's so insane, right?
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
yeah. So it's the same mindset in a way. It's the same mindset. It's like because it's the way it has been and the way it is, it just has to be that way. And for someone like Sara Shahverdi to be in this bizarre world where in some ways she's so forward thinking for the space that she's in, and in other ways she's frustrated to be dealing with these ways of thinking. And so sometimes I feel like she's stuck in between the two worlds. So there is a moment when Sara wins the election and she's, on the one hand, the men are dancing outside, on the other hand, the women are waving at her behind, through the window, and she's stuck in between them. When she's seated in a family setting, it's so funny because in this setting, people sit on the ground and women sit on one side and men on the other side, and almost always Sara sits in the middle between, like she's always the negotiator, she's always the connector of the two worlds, and that's, to me, is always very interesting.
How was the film financed?
So we only wanted to have the film supported by those entities and individuals who only support independent filmmaking. We didn't want any governmental support, and that we were really adamant about that. Because we wanted to also tell the story exactly the way we want to tell it, and that meant that in the same way we follow this individual who's facing with a lot of setbacks. The making of Cutting Through Rocks it's actually quite deserving of its title. It's just to make this film was quite a journey, both with a lot of ups and downs that happened. Many times we weren't sure if we would ever finish the film. It was partially financial, but it wasn't only financial. Sometimes we were stopped from making the film. We were questioned. We were interrogated. We were banned from leaving Iran for 1 full year. So there were a lot of uncertainties around how we could even actually finish the film. But the film was made in 8 years, but the first 3 years, we had no support in any way at all. It was just, we had nothing except for each other and for the love that we have for cinema, and this amazing individual whose trust we are forever grateful for. And so lots and lots of rejections until we received support from Chicken and Egg Films, Sundance Film Institute, ITFA, Firelight Media, Hot Docs, many more documentary.
Because Hot Docs, did you win a financial prize? Or did you get any money from Hot Docs? Well,
Yes,
this is IDFA, not hot
Cross
dogs
current,
and
yeah,
it was a
cross current, yeah.
cross-current doc fund, which came with a fellowship, so it was like a lab associated to it. And then, of course, after while we were in production, we had support from people who then later became our executive producers as well. And then after Sundance, we had even more team added to.
Yeah,
I
yeah, this,
noticed Sheila Nevin's name on here.
yes, yeah.
Yes, Sheila Nevins came on board after Sundance, and we are really grateful for her support. You know, for the conversations we got to have with her. I feel like we learned so much from her, from her experiences, from the stories that she had to share, and the support that she was able to provide.
I always ask, and I usually get a fairly reasonable question, but what was the budget on this film? What area was the budget?
So actually, I need to look at the budget again and asking our consulting producer to look at the numbers and then share with you. But it was one of the but I can say it was among the nominated films now. It's the cheapest film and also the cheapest, how can I say, the campaigning endeavor. So I can say this is just being able to make this film by help by individual and amazing colleagues like you, just supporting this story forward. Otherwise, it was not possible to be here, staying here, and talking about it.
And now this is the very first Iranian documentary feature that's ever been nominated for the Oscars, which is an amazing honor for us. And at the same time as it is an honor, sometimes we are, it's filled with heavy emotions because of what's happening back home, and because of the travel ban, for example. Our lead character is not able to attend the Oscar ceremony, and we don't have a US distribution on board. So there are a lot of hurdles along our way of moving the story forward and making sure that the people are able to see it.
What are you going to do about that? Do you think you're going to why do you think you don't have a distributor on board? Because it's a fabulous film.
Yeah.
And do you think you will? And why do you think that is? Well, I know the answer why, but I want to hear what you have to say.
I really love to know the answer. This is so. As I said, we've got a lot of support from individuals and also theaters like Film Forum. So they decided to screen our film for 3 weeks for non-English language film, for a documentary film. It was exceptional to extend it for 3 weeks. And those kind of supports really helped us to connect the film to the audience. But now in this phase, of course, we need many other people watch the film online, just having a distributor. But I'm sure after this campaign being over, we both like to have a good distributor, just connecting the film to others, because the theatrical release experience was amazing for both of us.
Yes.
Because we had a chance to be in person there, Q&As, and the connection with people. And yesterday we had 2 screenings here in LA. It was so emotional. And the connection was amazing.
Where were the screenings in LA?
Santa Monica and Lamley.
And at Glendale.
Glendale, yeah.
All were the Lemley screenings at all 3?
Yeah.
Lemley's? Yeah. Well, Lemley, I want to say again, is an exceptionally terrific, independent, small theater chain in LA with a very well-known Hollywood name, Lemley, because Carl Laemmle started Universal Pictures, back in the day, and practically started the whole business. So And these are the I think the grandchildren of the original Lemleys that are running the theater chain now.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
How many hours of editing, how many hours of footage did you have? And how long was the edit?
So we had over 200 hours of material, and the editing process itself, of course, we had some rough assembly in place before we started the actual editing process, but the editing process lasted about a year.
Last phase, I can say.
The last phase, and we were working together. We edited the film together, and we had 2 separate editing stations.
So maybe, Chuck, this was, you know better than us. Maybe we invented this in the history of cinema, a couple having 2 separate rooms, and how we work together.
Yeah, so we would just pick a specific moment that we wanted to cut to a scene. We would just work at the end of each day. We would show each other what we did, and of course, we had other consultants in the various stages of our editing to take a look at what we've been doing. But it was quite a challenge.
So we had 2 working at the same time, working on 2 separate scenes. And at the end of the day, we asked each other's comments on those scenes, and then we would switch.
And then
So
if something comes up,
This sounds like a movie for television, doesn't it? a rom-com, as we say, a romantic comedy. I like to ask the geeky question of what camera did you use?
So it's a really great question, because we started working on this film mostly with using C300 Canon, and I was happy with the quality, both of us, but we wanted a smaller camera, and I did a lot of research to finding something with the same quality like C300 but smaller size, but I didn't find something that I really feel good about it. But one day, one of our German filmmaker colleagues called me saying that, Mohammadreza, the camera you're looking for, I think, is out. It was C70. Was with the same quality but smaller size. For this film,
is that a Canon or is that something else?
Canon.
Yeah, Canon. So actually, this was because of the intimacy that we both looking for. This was better choice, and actually, I can say in the process, the camera became my friend because always like part of my body, small and just very easy to handle, and not being worried about the technical things or camera movement, and most importantly, not looking like a professional filmmakers with big camera. No, it was handy, good, and part of my body. It was really great.
Who's handling the sales for your film or potential distribution here?
So we have Outlook Sales. They're Vienna based, and they're handling the sales. And I have to say that because we didn't find any distribution, we are lucky enough to collaborate with a small independent releasing group team that are helping us with the theatrical release. They're called Assembly Releasing.
Assembly?
Yeah,
Yes.
here in the US for theaters, and they are handling that. Yeah.
And they're this fantastic team, and what they're doing is we had, right after Sundance, we had the Film Forum team interested in the film, and so we started our theatrical release with Film Forum, and ever since then we've been traveling to LA and San Francisco and other cities, expanding to other cities within the US. And the way it's been working is really just by the word of mouth, and people come to the screening, they like the movie, they tell their friends and family, and then the theaters say, okay, well, we want this film back again. Exactly what happened yesterday when we screened the film at the Santa Monica at Lemley. They said they're going to have another screening soon. So this is really the way we've been moving forward.
And then I assume if this doesn't get picked up, by Warner Brothers or somebody, that it will be on video on demand on all the regular places here sooner or later, where people can dial up and see it. Dial up.
Yeah.
Correct. We
Yeah.
hope that that would be the case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for being guests on Westdoc. You're a charming couple. Your film is very creative and compelling and is a must-see for anybody who wants to see contemporary documentary filmmaking at its best. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Cha. It was our honor to be here talking with you.